I'm very excited to welcome our next guest, Linda Schupack. She's one of our own, a graduate of Yale College, as well as the Yale School of Management. She's spent close to 15 years at AMC Networks, and she's currently the president of Marketing Entertainment Networks at AMC, where she manages all of the marketing functions, including AMC, BBC, America, Sundance TV, and IFC. And during her tenure at AMC, she's had experience running many of the marketing and strategic efforts, and has held a number of positions, including EVP, and even joined the company having held prior roles and a senior experience at Viacom's Nickelodeon. And today she's going to talk about a little bit more about art and science, which I'm sure you would all love to continue the conversation on based on the questions that you've had earlier today. So may I please welcome Linda Schupack.
What's amazing is the evolution of the game.
Step back three with a bomb. Three, got it. To a three and buries another one. 14 threes in a game. The sweet sound of the string music.
You can't be on the floor in the NBA now if you can't shoot a three.
Okay, well, thank you all. It is really wonderful to be here. I do love New Haven. I love Yale, and it is just fantastic being here in front of you. So I thank you very much for inviting me here. Now, I don't know if anyone here is watching the NBA playoffs, but I do love basketball, and I have loved basketball ever since I was a kid. Go Celtics. But the thing that's interesting to me is how much the game has evolved. Truly, not too long ago, there wasn't even a three-point shot. And when it was instituted, it was rare. It was considered gimmicky. It was really a shot of desperation. So I was incredibly struck last week. This was a headline in the New York Times. And to me, talking about the dumb choice, that the two-point shot is considered a dumb choice, well, that really underscored how insufficient the old ways of doing things are. And boy, is that ever true in marketing. So today, I want to talk to you about our three-point shot, and that is data and business intelligence. And that has really transformed the way we do our work as entertainment marketers at AMC. So I'd like to examine how data analytics, business intelligence has really given us a more complete game and hopefully a more winning game plan. So I'd like to explore today how we've evolved from the days of Mad Men. And when I say the days of Mad Men, I actually mean the days of marketing Mad Men on AMC, not the literal days of Mad Men, the late 1960s New York advertising world, but how we've evolved from marketing Mad Men on AMC to today's marketing of The Walking Dead. So I'm going to start with this quote, which I expect will raise a few eyebrows, particularly in this crowd. But I actually believe it's true, though I believe it's really only half true. People don't always know what they want. Of course, people don't always know what they want. When something is so brand new, so groundbreaking, so singular in its artistic expression, people can't tell you that they want it, because they don't even know how to imagine it yet. And that is art. And I think Steve Jobs probably used this quote to diminish the role of research, actually, in product development or product design. But I find it incredibly inspiring as a marketer. We do want to get our work in front of people. And when we do get our work in front of people, we glean insights about how they behave and what their responses might mean in terms of future behavior. We actually prove Steve Jobs' point because I think with performance marketing, we're showing things to people digitally. And based on their digital response, do they open it? Do they click it? Do they complete it? They are telling us exactly what they want. And we will get to that later. So our art is commercial art. And the commerce of it means that there's a marketing component. We have to figure out what it is that people respond to. We have to frame a message to them. And that message has to motivate them to take an action. In our case, it's to tune in. It's to watch the television show and the commercial. That's what our business is based on. Now, that's where consumer insights, of course, are foundational. Who are we talking to? Where do we find them? What are we saying to them? How are we saying it? What platform are we saying it? When are we saying it? Why is it relevant, and how is it relevant? Now, these questions were as significant in 2007 as they are today, of course, marketing the season of The Walking Dead. But what is dramatically different is how we answer those questions and the kind of response we get. So to understand the world we're operating in and how that world is so very different from the world we're currently living in, let's take a look, because that world is so very different. 2007. So 2007, Mad Men launched July 19th, 2007, 12 years ago, roughly. Now, the iPhone had just launched the month before, the end of June, actually, and it was just called the iPhone. There was no number after it because who knew what was going to happen with it? Just the iPhone. Earlier that year, Netflix announced that they were going to start streaming videos, but they were still shipping DVDs to your door. Facebook, as we heard this morning, 3 years old, 20 million active users, but it lived in the shadow of MySpace. Twitter had launched about a year before, but up until that point, the hashtag, just a number sign. And in the world of television, roughly 200 scripted series on the air. So this is very embarrassing to admit, but truly, what the consumer wanted did not drive our marketing. In fact, it sounds almost irresponsible today, but we didn't really think a lot about the consumer. We wanted to be as distinctive as the show, and we believed that great creative could do the heavy lifting and prevail if you had the goods, and we felt we did. And we did. Mad Men punched above its weight. Mad Men was a phenomenon. Our job was to feed it. Now, our media planning was pretty straightforward. We would have billboards in New York and LA. We might have print ads in the right environment, Vanity Fair, say, or even ads in newspapers to remind people to tune in that day. But the bulk of our dollars were spent on television and a little tiny bit on this embryonic sector known as digital. Our media agency would do targeted, efficient, and effective media that was designed to reach our target audience. But as marketers, we weren't just doubling down on the creative. We, in fact, were all in. And we felt if the creative was good enough, people would talk about it and tune in. So our creative, our key art would showcase basically metaphors that addressed the narratives or the themes of that season. You might see Don Draper sitting calm, cool, collected as the waters rose around him. Or if a season were dealing with the starkness of corporate life, you'd see Don Draper standing there, really addressing the solitude that these masters of the universe might find themselves in. And also, we would create experiences. We would want to bring the show into people's lives, let people take the show into their lives. For example, this partnership with Banana Republic. But with each tactic, at the end of each campaign, we really had no idea how we were performing. Now, as a marketer, of course, I had a sense. I knew whether people were talking about it. Were we getting coverage in the right press venues? Were we affecting popular culture? And of course, we also worked with outside agencies who would give us a sense of whether people had intent to view, whether they would indicate that they would in fact tune in. But a big piece of the puzzle was missing. I had no informed quantitative assurance. I had no measurable way of understanding how a show was doing. Were we spending enough money on the marketing? I had no idea how each tactic was performing along the way. But in a world with not a lot of competition, this seemed to be okay. Mad Men was excellent, it was distinctive, and it generated the right kind of chatter that made people tune in. So Mad Men won Emmys, it delivered its audience, it ushered in a new golden age of television, and it had a profound impact on pop culture. But Mad Men really was the end of an era. So let's flash forward 2019, and we work so very differently now. Predictive modeling, performance marketing, social insights. These are critical tools for us and really key to our success as entertainment marketers at AMC. And to understand the relevance of these changes, let's take a look at how the world around us has changed so dramatically. Well, firstly, what's changed? Well, competition has changed. There are now 500 original scripted shows on television. When we launched Mad Men, 200. So it has more than doubled. And how people are watching these shows has changed. So our competition is not just cable and broadcast. Our competition is Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, of course. And people are watching shows on their DVR, watching on VOD, the streaming services. But with all this choice and this technology, it's really interesting because media consumption has not meaningfully changed overall, but digital, of course, is getting a much bigger piece of the pie. And social and digital is really interesting. Social, digital, marketing platform, content platform. Of course, our social platforms with The Walking Dead, you can't imagine better marketing tools. These people are evangelists. Our Instagram page, our Facebook page, those fans, they're evangelists for the property. They're really, it's like a field marketing team. Then we heard this morning from Will, Instagram TV. I was watching the playoffs actually Saturday night, and I saw a commercial for Facebook Watch, and they were advertising a series starring Steph Curry on Facebook Watch. So the blurring of marketing and content for these channels, it's just so fascinating. And also what's really interesting around behavior is we're just seeing fragmented viewing. So you may start to watch a television show on your big screen TV, And you might be watching it through the app on Apple TV. You might be accessing it through your cable box. You start watching it on your big screen TV, but then you want to follow up. You want to watch more episodes. You want to finish the season on your commute, so you're watching on your phone. But the reality is, all of this digital viewing, it provides data, and it is really a gift to marketers. And it is just so transformative for how we behave now as marketers. So how does our business adapt to all of this change? Well, the ripple effect is really substantial. Our programming has to evolve. We are now, we have a show that's premiering on Sundance TV that 10-minute episodes in response to more short format programming. We have to give people what they want on their terms. So that may mean commercial-free streaming. It may mean the opportunity to binge. So the distribution model has to change. And then the advertising model has to change. How does commercials on linear television coexist with commercial-free streaming? Well, we have to figure out what our subscription models look like. And getting back to advertising, we have 6-second commercials on AMC now. And if anyone has been watching sports recently, you probably have noticed the picture-in-picture where they go to commercial break, they show footage from the sidelines or the bench, and that's adjacent to a commercial. So our advertising models are changing. Our subscription models are changing. We now, with streaming, we're direct to consumer. And all of these changes, the whole industry is grappling with, and they are both stomach-churning and invigorating. But what is also invigorating, particularly from a marketer's perspective, is that all of this digital viewing affords an enormous amount of data. So this data is so accessible to us now, and clearly so important. Well, amidst all of this change, there is in fact one constant, and that is the power of great creative. Now, great creative has the power, it touches our heart, and it motivates us to take an action in view. Only now, it is really vital that this creative is coupled with science. And that's how we refine our art, and we ensure the relevance to our consumer. So while marketers are challenged to manage the brand promise across all of these different touch points, the scenario also gives marketers more control over their destiny. Data and technology allow us to be more personalized, more targeted, more relevant, which ensures that the experience really matters to our consumer. So there is a new equilibrium. This is the art and science of it all. Performance marketing and brand marketing. And how we figure out how to get that balance right, well, that really is science and art. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the science. So about 4 years ago, Mad Men era ended, Mad Men was over, and we would say that the performance marketing era was ushered in. Before, our success was measured the day after premiere. So there's no chance to adapt a marketing campaign. But now, working with our business intelligence team daily, day-to-day part of our marketing group, we're getting real-time results. So what you see behind me is the kind of model that we use for all of our campaigns. We're looking at how assets perform on various platforms week to week, how they perform against how we anticipated they would be performing. And then these actuals get incorporated into the model. The tool gets smarter, we get smarter. As we get smarter, the tool gets smarter. It is a really nice, virtuous circle. So I want to give you a couple of examples, 2 examples of what this partnership with our business intelligence team and data analysis, what that means for some of the recent decisions we've had to make, how working with BI and data analysis has really informed some of these marketing decisions, key marketing decisions we had to make. So we had an ad in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, 2017. And a lot of people might say, well, that is a waste of money. $6 million for a 30-second spot. $3 million for a 15-second spot. That is a waste of money. But for us, that was the best possible use of our dollars. And ironically, this was not a play we called in advance. This was truly a last-minute audible on the line of scrimmage. Now, here's how the ad came about. What you see behind me is something we call a contribution model. And essentially, it looks at the various factors that contribute to a rating or contribute to that show's success. So we're looking at what we anticipate the lead-in performance to be, or the kind of press, the impression of press coverage we'll be getting, and how it performed the previous season. And of course, our marketing spend, and that is one of the biggest factors that contribute to success. And the example that I want to talk to you a little bit about, we were, this Super Bowl, how the Super Bowl ad came to be, we were marketing the 7th season of The Walking Dead, the back half of that season. And with The Walking Dead in particular, we have what we call A seasons and B seasons. The A season starts in October, runs for 8 weeks, 8-week hiatus, and then comes back, same storyline, but we market it, we put money against it in the B season in February. Now, season 7 of The Walking Dead premiered in October to the highest rating that the show had ever seen. That's fantastic. Then ratings fell a little bit. And at the end of December, as we were taking a look at our marketing plan for the back half, these remaining 8 episodes, we saw that we were not going to reach our performance goal. The prescribed remedy? Well, spend another $3 million. That's what the model told us. The tricky thing, though, is that we realized this the first week in January, and the show was less than 4 weeks away. So the first question is, how do you come up with a spare $3 million? And the thing about this contribution model is we use it for all of our shows. So we took a look at the marketing plans for other shows using this contribution model, and essentially we rebalanced the portfolio. We found that we could take dollars from a variety of other shows, and we could take that, we could find the $3 million without grave consequence and apply it to The Walking Dead. So the next question, though, in front of us is where to spend it, because strange as it sounds, it is not always easy to spend $3 million strategically in a very short amount of time. But luck and the calendar were on our side, and because The Walking Dead was going to premiere the immediate Sunday after the Super Bowl. So we were fortunate to have the ideal equation. A simple message, it does not get any more simple than that. Perfect timing, the week after, and clever creative. So this really, for us, this added up to not just our meeting our goal. In fact, we over-delivered by about 500,000 viewers, message and medium, art and science. And I will tell you, though, this was not exactly how the creative was originally envisioned. Our first concept had the football slowly deflating, which, as you know, a very touchy subject with the NFL. Thank you, Tom Brady. But luckily, they were fine with one dramatic splat. So also, working with Nielsen data, we were able to determine how many people watched that spot in the Super Bowl and tuned in to our premiere telecast. And we determined that we reached about 37 million people who had not been exposed to any of our other creative, any of our other advertising. And that cohort basically contributed 739,000, I was gonna say dollars, 739 viewers to our delivery. So that, for us, money very well spent. So now we're using science to wrap our creative and using science to tell us also how effective our creative is. We're assessing how people respond. We're analyzing each asset by platform in real time. And truly, this is transformative for us. Marketing really used to be a one-way communication. We would put up an ad, we would put up a billboard, say, or have a commercial, and someone would estimate how many people might see it. But marketing now is really a two-way communication. When we put a message out on social or digital, we are actually seeing, we are watching how that spot is performing. When we put a message on social and digital, whether people know it or not, they are sending us a message about that performance. Are they completing it? Are they viewing it? Are they retweeting it? And then we're feeding that behavior into another predictive model, and we see how that campaign is performing in real time. It used to be that we would do our best and hope for the best. But now, with these business intelligence tools, we do our best, and we can change course if we see that we could do better. So I'll give you one last example. Now, The Walking Dead, in its 10th season, we'll be having the 10th season in October. We just finished the 9th season. It's seeing a little bit of audience slippage. But the core that remains is so passionate and incredibly important to us. This is the heart of the fandom. These are the people who will fuel future franchise extensions and businesses. These people are devoted, but we can't just assume that they're going to stick with us. We can't just mail it in. We're always striving to produce great creative, but how do we know that people are responding? Well, with our BI team, we came up with a metric that we call impact. And impact measures views, it measures recency, it measures engagement. It's a relative score. It's really a composite index. But it gives a good indication of how the content is connecting with the viewer and how the viewer is connecting with that marketing content. And those three factors really interplay to give a fuller picture of the impact that a spot has on the intended viewer. So views alone cannot give a complete picture. You can imagine, you can have millions of views, but if it's not reaching the right audience, that really doesn't do you any good. And recency, incredibly important. You may have a spot, if you put it out in October, to ask people to take action in February, that can be problematic. That can distort the model. So it's recency and views really married to engagement or through the lens of engagement. And when we're talking about engagement, we're talking about post likes, dislikes. Are people sharing it? Are they completing it? All of these factors combined give us a sense of the kind of impact our campaign is having on people. Now, when we look at how we model impact, the great thing about this metric is it gives us a level of assurance that we're exploring the right strategy, that we're on the right track. Excuse me. The thing about impact is this model is actually informed by historical data. So we can compare season to season or post to post. And when we then look at a campaign, we've got a level of confidence that we're creating the right kinds of materials that have the right kind of relative impact. Now, of course, across a campaign, we hope we're going to see multiple spots that have the right level of impact. But there's going to be one spot that performs the strongest. And in our case, for marketing this past season of The Walking Dead, this was a spot we called stitching. It outperformed all the rest in terms of impact. So years of experience, we knew this was a good spot. But the data showed us it was a great spot for this audience. And once we discover that we have something that delivers the goods, we'll want to get it out to more people. Want to spend more money against it, put it on more platforms. So in fact, this was the spot that we selected for our primary television ad buy. And I will warn you, it is a little creepy.
Whisper, whisper, so they cannot hear. Whisper, whisper, whisper when you're sleeping. Whisper, whisper, and they'll know you're here.
So very creepy, but very effective. We took out the guesswork, and performance marketing gave us an assurance that these would be, again, dollars well spent. We hit our ratings goals, and these were goals that we had established for ourselves, so a very successful spot. Now, it's not enough just to have data and tools, of course. We know that. And we have learned that it is not enough just to have really cool creative. But the beauty of this new way of working is that the data reveals intention. It opens up new horizons for us. And the art provides the emotional connection, really, that cements this intention. So it is really the marriage of the two, art and science, that turns this quote on its side and reveals another truth. Because with data science, we can see what people want. So a lot of times, we can know what they want because they show it to us. That is the power of art and science, science and art. Thank you.